Hey guys, Kevy Kev here, the Maestro of Maroon Medicine, here today to talk about racist children and the war on Halloween. But first, the thought experiment. 1. I enjoy Japanese culture. I love the mystique and the majesty of the samurai. I go out and buy the most traditional looking samurai costume I can find. I buy a plastic sword, put it on my back, and I go around my neighborhood with my kids as they trick-or-treat, having fun and showing my neighborhood the appreciation I have for Japanese culture and samurai history. 2, I go out and I buy those big, heavy glasses like Mickey Rooney wore in Breakfast at Tiffany's. Then I shave a Fu Manchu right here. Then I take some tape and I tape my eyes like this and I go around my neighborhood going ching chang chong, ching chang chong to all my neighbors while my kids trick or treat. So, one of those might be racist. Both are cultural appropriation. The problem is, today's left, they talk about cultural appropriation, but they don't differentiate between cultural appropriation and cultural misappropriation. Now, I don't really care about cultural misappropriation, but cultural appropriation is even less of a problem. Now, guys, if you go out and you buy a costume that's, an Indian or a cowboy or anything, it's a cultural appropriation, but everything in culture is appropriated. Every aspect of our culture currently was appropriated from somewhere else. There is nothing new under the sun. Wearing pants, people who wear pants are blue jeans at least, are culturally appropriating Americans, but all the world wears blue jeans, or at least most of it do. So, things like that, there's nothing new under the sun. There's always something else that's taken from some other culture, some other place, and usually it's in a show of admiration for it. But the left wants to attribute malice to your children and claim that they are racist because of their choice in costume. Now, I grew up in Baton Rouge where there's a huge party called the Carlotta Street Block Party right outside LSU. Drunk guys, drunk girls, partying it up, having fun, people cooking out, crazy stuff like foam parties and things like that. And, it's just a wild time. It's like Mardi Gras, but for Halloween. And I enjoyed the hell out of this. Unfortunately, I think the college kids today will probably end up going and protesting. But luckily it's in Louisiana, so the college kids there, most of them are pretty conservative anyway. But, if this was something else or somewhere else, it would be shut down as insensitive. And that was one of the best times of my childhood, or at least my early adulthood, was going to the Carlotta Street Party. Some of the best times of my childhood were Halloween, when I got to dress up with all the neighborhood kids and go around and show people what I enjoyed, which was comic books. And, my daughter enjoys Mulan. Is she racist if she wants to dress up like Mulan? She's Hispanic, so I guess, there's no unity there. She's going to have to dress up as some Hispanic character from a Disney show. Oh wait, there aren't any. Not that I can think of off the top of my head. So she's relegated to wear what's only appropriate for her culture according to some authoritarian leftist? That's ridiculous. My nephew wants to dress up like a rhinestone cowboy. Is he culturally appropriating this Representative Wilson who was making a fuss about the Trump phone call to the widow? No. She was appropriating Roy Rogers. So look, it's ridiculous. I'm going to read to you a list of headlines. These are from Google. When you Google Halloween, and this shows what I've talked about, how about Google changing certain algorithms to reflect their agenda. So when you search Halloween, Vice News, why are people surprised by racist Halloween costumes? The Independent, how not to dress like an offensive idiot on Halloween. And then I have one more here, and this is actually a list of 8 racist Halloween costumes, and this is by Bustle.com. And mind you, this nothing leftist rag was one of the first to show up on a Google search for Halloween. And this goes into the war on Halloween. The left waged a war on Christmas, and they lost. And actually, they lost big, because they did it twice. They started in the 90s, when PC culture first rose up, and then we shut them down in the 90s. We beat them back. People converted to conservatism and right-wing thinking, and now they've got a whole new generation of kids that they can go brainwash into believing all this leftist, cultural Marxist BS. And we will beat them back too. The only difference between that generation in the 90s and this generation now is that generation in the 90s went out and got jobs. This generation's still living with their parents. I'm talking about my generation. So they still buy into this because they haven't paid taxes. They haven't gone out and experienced real life. When you look at a poll conducted by Gallup, it said that 75% of Americans believe that minorities are treated fairly in this country and have equal opportunities. But the 25% who voted no to that were actually majority white, majority privileged, and young kids and over 50 adults. That was the majority who thought that America was still a racist country. And it reflects that now, and you see that. But I'll go to this article so I can just share with you 10 racist Halloween costumes, and I think you'll find this actually sort of entertaining. So number one is a gypsy. And so we have a picture of a gypsy dress here. And this woman dressed as a gypsy, I guess, is appropriating European nomadic culture. But this is just flattery, and it's something that looks unique, and people would want to wear it. There's nothing racist about that. Two, a voodoo priestess. Now, growing up in Louisiana, down in New Orleans, lots of people dressed up like voodoo priestess. And it's fun. You get to paint your face like that white chalky color with the black eyes. And you wear the big top hat like the guy in the James Bond movie. There's nothing wrong with that. These are not, an item cannot be racist. Attribute like racism has to be attributed to a human being. You cannot attribute that to an item. A Day of the Dead skull, sugar skull. So that's just a girl who dresses up like a Day of the Dead skull, which could be any skull. And who are they to judge who can celebrate the Day of the Dead? There's different minorities, and there's whites in Mexico, there's blacks in Mexico. So it's ridiculous. Here's the only one that might be a little racist, and it's a Nazi. So dressing up like a Nazi for Halloween is racist. Unless you want to parody a Nazi, then it's not racist at all. And if you are a guy who dresses up like a Nazi, it's usually to parody it. I doubt there are very many people going out there and dressing up like a Nazi because they admire Nazis. Although the left would have you believe that everybody is. So, a Rastafarian. This is a religion. Rastafarians are religious. That's not a race. That's not any kind of thing that you could attribute to one person. Now, maybe if you're a Catholic and you dressed up like a Rastafarian, but that's ridiculous, guys. Just having dreadlocks and a Bob Marley looking hat on is not making you racist, and it's not an act of malice. And to be racist, you have to have malice. And by doing this, the left is saying that your children are racist, and they are telling your children what they can and cannot do. And the idea that somebody would accuse a 4-year-old or a 2-year-old like my daughter or a 4-year-old like my nephew, that they would accuse them of having malice towards another person based on race because of a costume choice they made, that disgusts me, and it should disgust you too, and it should show you what a crappy ideology leftism is. So number 4 or 5 here is an Egyptian goddess, and it's actually a nice looking costume, and I don't see how that's any way offensive. Those ancient Egyptians are long dead now. Nobody has a claim to ancient Egypt. A geisha, same thing. Sure, there's still some people dressed like in the geisha dress in Japanese for ceremonies, but it's a flattering thing. It's a beautiful look, and people want to go out and dress up for Halloween to have fun. That's what it's all about, is having fun. It's not to offend people. Nobody thinks of it that way. This one is sort of funny. They actually list a wall, and I'll show you guys, look. They have the Trump wall on there. So, that's actually a great costume. I'll probably wear that costume myself for Halloween. But, it says, "We will make Mexico pay." That is just tremendous. That's a great costume. That's, if you're culture appropriating anybody, you're culture appropriating Trump, which is, I admire Trump, so maybe I'll dress up as the wall. You know what? Wanting border security is not racist. Wanting to punish kids and take away people's fun and telling children like mine that they have to dress up in something that's culturally specific towards them or not dress up at all, or dress up as an inanimate object, which you could still argue is cultural appropriation, because the left will never let this go. They will always find something else to villainize. They will always find something else to attack. And this is it, guys. We have to tell people, we have to ask people, aren't you tired of this? Do you really think that kids have a malicious purpose in going out and dressing up this way? Do you really want people telling your kids what to do, telling you how to eat, how to think, how to live? No. We got to shut them down, guys. This is ridiculous. It's going way too far. It's gone too far for a while. Let's shut them down. Let's dress as offensive as hell this Halloween, and just to parody it. You know, I'm not saying go out and offend people, but go out and dress in whatever the left tells you not to wear, just to spite them, not to hurt other people. But look, anytime you're spiting the left is funny, and it's, you know, like the comedians say, jokes have no, borders when it comes to racism or sexism. Out.